The CHF barrel, we all use it as part of our meta loadouts in Black Ops 6 Zombies, but just how important is it? Is it a must-have? Is it a crutch attachment? Or is it merely just a placebo? I've done the testing, the results are in. Let's dive into the CHF barrel. Let's go. Man, oh man. All right. So this one was quite an interesting adventure here. So I originally started out as just trying to run a test using the Krig C in the AMES 85. These were the two weapons that I had chose, and I pretty much chose them completely at random. And I was going to play a game with the CHF barrel. I'll play a game without the CHF barrel and kind of compare and see and make sure all the numbers line up and try to determine just how important it actually might be that you run the CHF barrel when you are playing Black Ops 6 Zombies. But that is when something very interesting happened and some goofy things started happening with the numbers, and then I just dove deep into a rabbit hole here. So let's go ahead and get into those numbers. First, a quick word from this video's paid sponsor. Messy Modding is a safe and legitimate gaming service company that supplies services to not just Call of Duty, but for over a dozen other games. If you're looking for help with the Dark Matter or Nebula grind, bot lobbies, and more, go to check out Messy Modding using the link in the description down below and let them do all of the hard work for you. Use my code COOL to save 5%. Back to the video. Okay, so I'm going to be utilizing my spreadsheet again here in this video, and I went ahead and I blocked out some of the other weapons and stuff on here so we can just focus on the ones that we need to do. As you can see, I ran a game with the CHF barrel, without the CHF barrel, with the AMES, the Krig, the KSV, and the PU-21. So each and every one of the games was played until the weapons were legendary rarity, Pack-a-Punch 3, and recording all of the values and everything that we got from that. My very first game that I played here was using the Krig C without the CHF barrel, which gave us a base critical damage once we were legendary and triple Pack-a-Punch of 4,512. That is for a critical shot for one bullet to the head of a zombie. 4,512. Now, there were some values here that were not affected whatsoever by using the CHF barrel. That is your base chest damage, which was 960. The fire rate, of course, stayed the same as 714. We weren't affecting that. Movement speed, reload times, all those things stayed the same, as well as the damage to armor, which was definitely something that I was testing as well with the CHF barrel. Are we going to get better shots to armor when we're hitting like headshots to armored zombies? Is that going to improve while using the CHF barrel? And the answer is no. The damage to the armor is the damage to the armor, and that stays the same with or without the CHF barrel. So with our 4,512 base critical damage that we're able to do with the Krig C without the CHF barrel, that would make it 4,963 once you have Deadshot equipped. And perhaps one of the most important stats here that we're going to talk about is the critical damage per second. So the DPS for critical shots, this is if you were hitting 100% critical shots all of the time and never missing. This is only factoring in headshots. This isn't factoring in your own inherent inaccuracies when you're playing the game here. But 53,693 is its maximum potential damage per second that you can do with the Krig C without using the CHF barrel. And if you had Deadshot equipped, now this also does not factor in any augments for Deadshot, that would then increase to 59,062. Well, of course, your damage per second just to the chest and the rest of the body will stay the same at 11,424. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting. So once we put the CHF barrel on the Krig C, it is supposed to give our weapon a 19% increase in damage, which would expect us to be somewhere around 5,370 at this point in the testing. Once we attach the CHF barrel to the Krig C, we are supposed to get a 19% increase to our critical shot damage, which we roughly got. It's actually a whole lot closer to 20%. It's just barely under. It's like 19.98%, roughly somewhere around there, and it went all the way up to 5,408 for our critical damage, which then brought our damage with Deadshot equipped up to 5,949, and it brought our damage per second all the way up to 64,355, which is significantly higher than the 53,693 that we were doing. That was going to kill less than one zombie per second once you are at the maximum level of the game, and now you're able to kill slightly more than one zombie per second once you have the CHF barrel and everything equipped. And then, of course, with Deadshot, it's going to make the difference there as well, bringing it up to 70,791. Again, no augments whatsoever with the Deadshot. You can do even better with these numbers. You could use the dead first, you can use the dead head, and do even better with those particular spectacular numbers right there. And of course, the damage to the chest stays the same. But this is not going to stay true for the next weapon that we're going to talk about. So this is where my going down a rabbit hole really started to come into play here. So the AMES 85, once I did my game with the no CHF barrel attached whatsoever, we got 4,000 as our base critical damage, 4,400 as our base critical damage with Deadshot equipped, which gave us a critical damage per second of 55,533 or 61,087 once you had Deadshot equipped. So I expected that these numbers would then continue and do the same thing as they did with the Krig C. However, that did not happen. So things got really interesting once we put the CHF barrel on the AMES 85, because we were supposed to get a 12% increase to our critical damage, except we did not get that 12% increase whatsoever. We did not get any increase at all once we put the CHF barrel on the AMES 85. Now, I did go and play a second game and make sure that this indeed was what was happening and that I didn't forget to just put on the CHF barrel or anything. But no, that is indeed what happened. And then of course, for the everything else is all going to stay the same, because we got absolutely no benefit whatsoever with the AMES 85 using the CHF barrel. So then it got me asking some questions, because now my results were, my Krig C says I get 19%, but I actually got more than a 19% increase in my critical damage. And then I do the game with the AMES 85 where I'm supposed to get 12%, and now I get nothing. So I decided I'm going to have to do another weapon. Okay, so that is when we moved on to the KSV. Now, without the CHF barrel on the KSV, we got 3,808 as our base critical damage with this weapon, or 4,189 once you have Deadshot Daiquiri equipped, giving us a total of 59,849 damage per second with the KSV without using the CHF barrel. And then if you place Deadshot on that, it's going to increase it to 65,834. So then I honestly did not know what to expect once I got the KSV with the CHF barrel, and I got it fully triple pack-a-punched in legendary rarity. I honestly did not know what to expect. So once we did get everything all leveled up here for the CHF barrel with the KSV, we were supposed to get an 18% increase, and we got about a 16% increase all the way up to 4,512, 4,963 once you have Deadshot equipped, giving us a damage per second of 70,914 with the CHF barrel as compared to the 59,849 without the CHF barrel. And then once you throw Deadshot on it, that gap even widens even further to 78,005 as compared to 65,834. So that is a massive, massive difference between the CHF barrel, not a CHF barrel, but it's also not quite what the stat was promised us. It was promising us 18%, and it delivered about 16%, which, okay, these numbers really aren't super adding up here, so we're gonna have to try again. So I went ahead and tried again with one final weapon. So I wanted to go ahead and try a different weapon class, so I went ahead and chose an LMG, the PU-21. So without the CHF barrel on that, we had a critical damage of 4,128 once we got everything maxed out to that, with 4,541 damage when you have Deadshot Daiquiri equipped with the PU-21, giving us a total critical damage per second of 59,306 or 65,236 with Deadshot equipped. So the CHF barrel for the PU-21 is supposed to give us a 6% increase. And as you can see here, we have 4,288 critical damage, which is significantly less than the 6% increase that was promised by the CHF barrel. That makes our Deadshot Daiquiri critical shot damage at 4,717 at base. And then when we are talking about our damage per second here, that only brings us up to 61,604 without Deadshot and 67,765 with Deadshot Daiquiri equipped. Okay, so here's kind of a look at my final table here if you want to take a screenshot, so you can kind of look at numbers on your own if you want to here without all my little black boxes and everything. And of course, this will be linked down in the description down below. So to answer the question that we set out to answer in the beginning of the video, I do believe that yes, this is absolutely a necessary perk and can very much be a crutch perk to use here in Black Ops 6 Zombies. We got some disparities with the numbers there. We had the AMES that didn't even give us any boost whatsoever. So I would say, depending on your favorite weapon in the game or what you want to use, maybe do a little bit of your own testing and kind of see how much of an advantage you're getting with it. Because if you're using some of these SMGs, it might be a little bit better to run one of the long barrels or something that gives you a little bit extra damage range, especially if you're not getting a huge benefit from running the CHF barrel. But it's definitely something that can be absolutely massively huge, or in the case of the AMES, it does absolutely nothing. So there seems to be some other multiplier in there other than just the percentage increase to the critical damage that Treyarch is using to either balance the game, or, you know, maybe it's just a little bit buggy. Either way, but definitely an attachment that you need to be using, you need to be running here in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Let me say, this video took me hours to make here, like 5 hours of testing, plus all the filming and recording and everything. So if you enjoyed it, if you got any value at all, I would appreciate that like button. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Cole Whip, and I'm out.